Hi, and welcome to Cenario, your partner in mental wellness. Here on our channel, we share educational, insightful, and science-backed content to help you understand your mental health and take meaningful steps toward a more balanced life. If you're ready to learn, grow, and take control of your wellness journey, let's jump right in.
You know, sleep is supposed to be our time to rest, to recover. But what if, for some people, the night is filled with activity they can't control or even remember? Today, we are diving into the really fascinating and often pretty confusing world of sleep eating. I mean, seriously, just picture that for a second. Waking up to a total mess in the kitchen, wrappers and containers everywhere, but you have zero memory of how any of it happened. For some people, this isn't some weird dream. It's their reality, and it's caused by a really complex sleep disorder. So let's get into what's actually going on. All right, here's how we're going to piece this puzzle together. First, we'll get a clear definition of what sleep eating even is. Then, we're going to dig into some of the surprising causes. After that, we'll talk about the hidden dangers, because they are real. And most importantly, we'll map out the path to getting a peaceful night's sleep back. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What exactly is this bizarre nighttime behavior? Because I can tell you right now, it is so much more than just a case of the midnight munchies. So the official medical name for it is nocturnal sleep-related eating disorder, or NSRED for short. The best way to think about it is as a type of parasomnia. Now, that's just a category of sleep disorders that includes stuff you've probably heard of, like sleepwalking. What's happening is that the brain is kind of caught in this weird limbo between being asleep and being awake, which leads to these actions, like eating, that are totally involuntary and unconscious. And the signs of this go way beyond just finding a few crumbs in the bed. Because the person isn't fully conscious, they might end up eating really bizarre or even dangerous things. We're talking frozen food right out of the freezer or raw meat. This can lead to some pretty serious injuries from trying to cook while asleep, not to mention unexplained weight gain, and of course, just feeling exhausted all day from having your sleep disrupted night after night. Okay, this is a question that comes up all the time. You might be sitting there thinking, hang on, I wake up at night and grab a snack sometimes. Is that what we're talking about? And the answer to that is a hard no. They're very different. So here is the absolute core difference, and it's a big one. With sleep eating disorder, NSRED, the person is asleep. They have no consciousness, no memory of what's happening. But with night eating syndrome, or NES, they're wide awake, they are fully aware of what they're doing, and they remember it the next day. It all comes down to that one critical factor, consciousness. So now that we've got a good handle on what this disorder is, the next big question is, why? Why does this happen? What are the hidden triggers that are setting off these unconscious nighttime feasts? Well, it turns out there isn't one single culprit here. Instead, NSRED is usually the result of a kind of perfect storm of different factors. It can be anything from your genetics and certain medications to your mental health and even other sleep disorders you might have. And when we dig into those specifics, you see things like sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome, which can mess up your sleep patterns just enough to trigger an episode. Certain medications are also known culprits, especially some sedatives or antidepressants. On top of that, high stress, really restrictive dieting during the day, or even having a family history of sleepwalking can all raise the risk. It's a really complex puzzle. Now, I know the idea of eating in your sleep might sound a little strange, maybe even a bit funny, but it is so important to understand that this is way more than just a quirky habit. The dangers in the waking world are very, very real. The complications can be pretty significant. We're talking about major weight gain from eating high-calorie foods every single night. And there's a huge risk of injury. I mean, just imagine trying to use a sharp knife or a hot stove when you're only partially awake. And beyond all that, the constant disruption to your sleep can lead to this crushing daytime fatigue, mood swings, and just a major hit to your overall quality of life. Okay, so after hearing about the causes and the dangers, let's switch gears and talk about the most hopeful part of this whole story, reclaiming your nights. Because the good news is this condition is absolutely treatable. So what does that path to recovery actually look like? Getting a proper diagnosis is always step number one. This usually starts with a really detailed chat with a sleep specialist. It might also mean doing an overnight sleep study. It's called a polysomnography, where doctors can literally watch your sleep behavior and figure out if other issues, like sleep apnea, are part of the problem. Now, there isn't one single magic bullet for treatment. Instead, what doctors use is this multi-pronged strategy that really tackles the problem from every angle. It usually starts with some simple changes and then builds up to more targeted interventions. And here are some of those strategies in action. Lifestyle changes, like a really strict sleep schedule, are foundational. If a certain medication might be a trigger, a doctor can look at adjusting it. Therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, can be incredibly helpful for managing the underlying stress. And maybe most importantly, simple safety measures, like alarms on doors or locking away dangerous kitchen tools, can prevent injuries while the treatment starts to work. Really, the key takeaway here is that even though sleep eating disorder can feel totally chaotic and distressing, it is absolutely manageable. With the right combination of professional help, some personal adjustments, and good support, getting back to peaceful, uninterrupted sleep is entirely possible. And that leaves us with one final thought. Whether you're dealing with a complex disorder like this one, or you just want to improve your rest, it so often starts with one small change. So, what's one step you can take for better sleep tonight? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.
Thank you for watching Cenario. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. For personalized mental wellness supplements, visit Cenario.com. See you in the next one.